chapter 11, verse 21. So it says, Vayavo Yehoshua. So Joshua came, Be'ed Hahi, at that time, Vayachret, and he cut off or killed Ed Ha'anakim, the giants. And the Mesilas Sion only says that these are Bnei Adam Gavoy HaKoma, that these were people who had a great stature. So I'm not sure how big the giants were, but they were considered giants.
Sir, I have a question right off the bat. This
Yep.
relates to our Hebrew study.
Yep.
In my translation, it says, and at that time Joshua went and destroyed. And the word, Ba'ed, come, you said he came.
Right.
This said he went. And I've noticed that in my Hebrew, in the answer book, it's could say, and Moses came to Pharaoh. And remember, I questioned that. Well, we'd say he went to Pharaoh. So I find that interesting that translation, different translations, come and came and went, or come and go, same Hebrew word.
Correct.
I just find that interesting. I can't even explain why I find it so interesting, but it's how you think. Do you go to some place? Am I going to go to him, or am I going to come to him? Is there any significance at all? Because right here it is again. They say at the time he went, Joshua went.
I would suggest that they are just giving what we call proper English. I'm translating literally. They're going for the proper way that one would say it. He went. I'm just translating literally.
Okay. But
literally, it would be he came.
Literally, he came.
Because the shorish is bo, come.
Yeah.
If I want to say he went,
is there another Hebrew word for went?
halach.
Oh,
to go.
Oh,
he went.
Oh, okay, yeah, sure.
So
okay,
it would say normally it would say vayelech Yehoshua, and he went.
Yeah, okay.
But here it's he came.
Yeah.
It could be also, by the way, he came to do battle. If I really want to draw out English, he came to do battle. He didn't
go.
He didn't go to. Well, he could have gone to go do battle, but he wouldn't have went to do battle. He would come to do battle.
All right. Well, okay. It's just a thing that in my mind it's interesting. I think there's something else to be learned from this. Okay. That's it.
Okay.
Okay.
So like I said, he kills the giants. Min Ahar, from the mountain. Min Chevron, from Chevron. Min Devir, min Anav, from Devir and Anav. Mikol Har Yehuda, and from all of the mountain areas of Yehuda. Mikol Har Israel, and from all the mountain of Israel. Im Arehem, with their cities. Hecharimam Yehoshua. Yehoshua destroyed them. Again, the Am at the end is them. So Hecharim caused the destruction of them. What is it? Mesilas David explains what it means in Chevron. It says, Af ki Kalev horish anakim but mechevron. Even though the Kalev is the one who drove out the Anakim from Chevron, Yichas Devar Yehoshua, it's still considered that Joshua did it because in his days is when they were driven out. So any victory of the war is considered to be done by the leader. In this case, it's going to be Joshua. So even though the Mesilas David is saying, wait a second, Joshua, his question really is, Joshua didn't drive anybody out. He didn't drive the Anakim out, the giants. It was Kalev. So why are you giving Joshua the credit for it? And the singular credit for it, by the way? Because he was the commander-in-chief. So the commander-in-chief always gets the credit. It's like when I was talking to in my yeshiva, talking to the job placement guy, and he said to me, with the job where I was present when I was working at a specific place, he said, I can see by your bulletins that you're doing a really great job, and so on and so forth. It's really tremendous what you've done there. And I said, well, it wasn't me, it was the congregation. So he said, Rabbi, learn one thing very quickly. You will be blamed for everything. you therefore should take credit for everything. You're the commander-in-chief. So that's what Joshua is basically doing. So even though Kalev is the one, as we will know from just other texts, that Kalev is the one who really did it, since Joshua was a commander-in-chief, he gets the credit. Good. So Velonatar Anakim, and there was no giants remaining, Be'eretz B'nai Yisrael, in the land of B'nai Yisrael, Rak Ba'aza, except for Aza, which is Gaza today, Gat ve'Ashdod nisharu, and in Gat and Ashdod, that's where they remained. So apparently, for whatever reasons, they did not, or could not drive them out of those areas. And so the Malbim says on this whole issue, first Joshua says B'Sheva in the first verse of 21. It says B'Sheva Shekavshu, in the 7 years that they were conquering the land, Hagam Shemina Chevron Hoshiam Caleb. Again, he's sitting on the same problem, that Caleb is the one who drove them away. So he's just bringing that out. That again, it's the same thing that Methuselah David said, that it would be going because that Joshua was the commander-in-chief. When it says there were nothing remaining, it says Kavar Hiskarti. I the Malbim already mentioned, Shanish Arhu B'Kavana, that they remained there with intent. V'notarhu, that when the word nishar, like it is in the first sentence, or the sentence before, when it uses the Hebrew word nishar, remaining, that means that was with intent, they remained there. V'notar, when it says v'notar though, that, which again is another word for remain, comes from the shorish of yeter. So hu shelo b'kavana, that is without intent. In other words, it wasn't something that they had intended to do, it was just a natural outcome of the event, that you had people there. V'hine be'eretz Yisrael notar kalal. So here, behold, in Eretz Yisrael, it says they didn't remain with using the word noter at all. Af shelo b'kavana, even without kavana. In other words, they wiped everybody out. Rak ba'aza nisharu, only in Aza they remained there. And again, if you look at the word nisharu, so you know that is with intent. That's so with intent. Ki lo lachmu imam kalal, because they did not fight with them at all. V'yulanasot behem et Israel, and that was to test the people of Israel, like we're going to learn in the next book in Shoftim. So apparently they left these people in Gaza, just to test us. Later on, are we going to fall into their traps? So now, Chav Gimel. Vayikach Yehoshua et kol ha'art. So Joshua took the whole land, kechol asher diber Hashem Moshe, just as Hashem spoke to Moshe, vayitna Yehoshua lenachalal Yisrael kamachlotam l'shivtehem. And he gave it, and again I point out that the commentary is it referring to the land. Land is feminine, so has to use a feminine ending. So Joshua gave it as an inheritance, a nachalah inheritance to Israel, kamachlotam, like they're split up, like like they will be apportioned. The shivtehem for their tribes. Va'aretz shakta milchama, and the land was quiet from war. So the Methuselah David explains that kamachlotam, which means kafi hamachloket ha'amor lamata, like the division that would be spoke of with each tribe, the shivtehem, and so that's the chol chelik levad. Each tribe would have a portion by itself, and shakta means that just like I said, the land was at rest, and that was after the conquest, according to the Malbim, after the conquest and the division. So now we're going to go into the actual borders of the land. Are you ready for this? So a whole bunch of names. Okay? We're on chapter 12. And at this point, unless there's a real problem that we'll have, we're going to fly a little. And these are the kings of the land of Shehiku B'nai Israel. These are the kings. And they inherited their land Be'eva HaYarden in the other side of the Jordan, Mizrach on the eastern side of the Jordan, Mizrach HaShemesh, Minachal Arnon V'Yadhar Chermon, from the river of Arnon until the Mount Chermon, Bechol Arava, all the plains, Mizracha to the east. You're going to have a whole list of kings, and you're going to have, if I remember correctly, 31 kings altogether. So Sichon Melech Amori, Sichon was the king of the Amorites, Yehoshua Cheshbon, the one who dwells in Cheshbon. He's not there anymore. Moshe Aro'ir, he was ruling from Aro'ir Asher Al Safat HaNachal Arnon, that was on the bank of the river Arnon, B'toch HaNachal V'chatzi Gilad, into the middle of the river and over half of Gilad, V'yad Yabok HaNachal, and to the river Yabok, the Jabbok River, I think they translate that, Gevul B'nai Ammon, which is the border of the children of Ammon, V'Arava, and the plain, Ad Yam Kinrot Mizracha, until the sea of Kinrot to the east, V'Ad Yam Harava, to the sea of the plain, Yam HaMelach Mizracha, the salt sea, which is still, you can find that what they call the Dead Sea today, to the east, Derech Beit Yeshimot, the way towards Beit Yeshimot, Umeteman, Tachat Ashdod Pisgah, and from the south, which under the falls of Pisgah. I think you actually have in your art scrolls, somewhere in that, you have maps that detail what we're talking about. I don't know maps that well.
Map here, it doesn't have much detail. But
No, I'm saying as we go on, I think that what they do is they show you, or attempt to show you these things. The biggest problem you're going to have with all of these names is that we don't call them by those names today. Some of them are, but some of them are not. So when it comes to it, we're really sometimes just guessing based upon what the borders would be, where these places actually were. Which is why we go to biblical maps, sometimes you'll find things moved around. So Dalit. Ugavul Og Melech HaBashan, and the border of Og, who was the king of Bashan, Miyeter Rephaim, the last of the remnant of the giants. Again, another word for giants, for Rephaim, as compared to Anakim. The Anakim, you'll appreciate this. Anak means necklace. You ready for this, Bill? Because I know you like these things. Anak means necklace. So what would happen is, when you would look at these people, Rashi explained in Chumash, that the sun looked like a necklace. That's how tall they were. So if they were sitting in the sun looked like it was a necklace around their neck. There was the light. That's why they called them Anakim. Rephaim comes from the shorish to make weak. And so when people would see this Rephaim, they would become weakened by their very sight. That's how scary or ominous they were. So you have two sets of giants out there. The Anakim, who apparently were very tall, and the sun looked like it was just a necklace, and these Rephaim, which when you see them, you would just become very afraid of them. Okay, so that's why you'd have two names for giants, at least two names. But they were Hayoshe Ashdod Bedrei, they dwelt in Ashdod and Edrei. Umoshel, and he ruled over Bahar Chermon, Vesalcha, V'chol Bashan, the Mount Hermon, Salcha, and Bashan, at Gevul HaGeshori, to the border of Geshur, the Geshurites, V'yamachati, and the Machachites, Chatze Gilad, and also half of Gilad. Gevul Sichon Melech Cheshbon was the border of Sichon, the king of Cheshbon. Moshe, Eved Hashem, Uvenei Israel Hikum. So Moshe, the servant of Hashem, and all of Israel smote them. Vayitna Moshe Eved Hashem Yerusha LaReuven v'Lagadi v'Chatzi Shevet Amanashe. And Moshe, the servant of Hashem, gave this land as an inheritance to the Reubenites, the Gadites, and to half the tribe of Manasseh. Now, why did he give them to them? So you have to go back to the story in Numbers, where the people with these tribes who had a lot of livestock said, "This is great graze. Where we are right now on the east side of the Jordan is great grazing land. Since we already beat these kings anyway, let us take this as our inheritance, and we'll forfeit the inheritance on the other side of the Jordan, namely in Eretz Yisrael. We will give our land up in order to have this, because this land is good for us already, and we already own it." So Moshe originally thought that they didn't want to go over to the Jordan to go to Canaan, and therefore they were in rebellion. So he was giving them a whole story of this is what their fathers did, and this, they can cause, their actions may cause the whole Jewish people to wander another 40 years. It's not nice what they're doing. And they said, "No, you misunderstood us. We're willing to go over and fight. We'll be more than happy to go over and fight. But we don't want that land. We want to first inherit everybody on the Jordan. In Canaan, get rid of everybody. But then when it comes down to actual inheritance, we want this land." God says to Moshe, "Done. The deal is sealed. As long as they go over as the lead forces." What do you call that? The front lines?
Vanguard.
Vanguard, as long as they go as vanguard, and they help you win. Once it's done, they can come back and they can take the land on the east side of the Jordan. So where I think what they call Jordan today was originally Israel, Greater Israel. And that was given by God. So, but that's why I have to emphasize each time, by the way, that Moshe Eved Hashem, that Moshe, the servant of Hashem, he did nothing on his own. He never made a decision on his own, certainly not this grandeur. And so that's why he gave him the land. Fine. Anything else we have to say there? No. So Ve'ele Malchei Haaretz, here we go. And these are the kings of the land, Asher Hika Yehoshua Bnei Israel, that Joshua and Bnei Israel smote, Be'ever Yarden Yama, on the west side of the Jordan, namely in Canaan, Mi Baal Gad Mi Birkat Halvanon, from Baal Gad in the valley of Lebanon, Ve'ad Ahar Chalach HaOleh, the Seira, and the smooth divided mountain that goes up to Seir. Vayitna Yehoshua l'shivtei Yisrael, and Yehoshua gave it to the tribes of Israel, Yerusha Kemach Lekotam, as inheritance according to their divisions. Bahar, in the mountains, Uvashvela, and in the valleys, V'arava, and in the plains, Uvashedot, and in the falls, Uvamidbar, and in the wilderness, Negev, and in the south, Hachiti, Hamari, the Hittites, the Amorites, the Canaani, the Canaanites, Haprizi, the Prizites, Hachivi, the Chivites, Vayevusi, the Jebusites. So you have altogether 6. You don't have 7 there. No, we had 7 nations. The reason we don't hear about the 7th nation is because they already conceded to us, namely the Gibeonites, who are the Chivites living in Gibeon. So Melech Yericho Echad. Now we go through the 31 kings. Melech Yericho Echad. Yeah, the king of Jericho, 1. Melech Ai Hashem Yisrael Beit El Echad. The king of Ai, who was from the side of Beth El, 1. Melech Yerushalayim, another one. He, the king of Jerusalem, 1. Melech Hebron Echad. The king of Hebron, 1. Now again, if you look at Hebron to Jerusalem, and not that far away, but all these are little city-states. So the question is, all these kings, were they really kings? Were they just, what was the status of the king?
Mayors of the town.
Say it again?
Just like a mayor of the town.
Were they mayors of the town? Did they have an army? What's going on here? So there's a two-way discussion, two-way argument. One is that they were indeed the kings, but they were kings of different countries who made their capital in Israel because Israel is such an important land. And if you look at the map, it's a crossroads, just like Indiana is a crossroads of the U.S. I think that's what we call it, right? The crossroads of the U.S.
Indiana, yeah.
Yeah, we call it the crossroads, something like that. So also Israel is a crossroads for that area, that everybody was going to go through that land in order to get to the other. So it really is a place that you want to be a part of, just strategically. So all of them had a place in Israel. That's certainly one opinion. The other opinion is that they were kings of these individual places. And that was it. So Melech Yarmut Echad, Melech Lachish Echad, again the king of Yarmut, the king of Lachish. Melech Eglon was one. Melech Gezer, the king Gezer Echad. Melech Devir Echad, Melech Geder Echad. Melech Charma Echad, the king of Charma was one. Melech Arad was one. Melech Livna Echad, Melech of Livna, the king of Livna, was one. Melech Adulam was one. Melech Makeda Echad, the king of Makeda was one. Melech Beit El Echad, and the king of Beit El was one. Melech Tapuach Echad, so the king of Tapuach is an interesting name. They must have had an apple orchard there, or something with apples, because you say Tapuach is the name of an apple. So I would say apple, but I don't know. Nobody says that. I'm just guessing. There must be an apple orchard around there. Melech Chefer Echad, the king of Chefer was one. Melech Afek was one. Melech Sharon was one. Melech Madon Echad, Melech Chatzor Echad, so you have the king of Madon, the king of Chatzor. Melech Shimron, Meraon Echad, so you have the king of Madon. Of Raon was one. Melech Achshav Echad, Melech Tanach Echad, Melech Megiddo Echad. You'll forgive me if I don't keep translating. It's just king of this place. Melech Kedash Echad, Melech Yekanam, the Carmel, says the king of Yekanam for Carmel was one. Melech Dor, the Nafad Dor Echad. Melech Goyim, the Gilgal Echad, says the king. This is also interesting. Melech Goyim, he was the king of the Goyim, which means that he had a lot of nations there in his little place, like the U.S. type of thing. Although it's not the size. The Gilgal Echad, Melech Tirtza Echad, Kol Malachim, Shloshim Ve'echad. All the kings that they took over were 31 individual places that they had to fight. Okay, and that gets us through all of that wonderful stuff. I would leave you to the notes to see if there's anything that you would want to talk about specifically, but it's like I said, most of them are just place names and telling us how much they had to go through. And no matter how small of a kingdom they had, to fight constantly is a lot of pain in the neck too, because each place probably had some reinforcements, and it wasn't just an easy victory. Okay, so now 13. Yehoshua Zaken. Joshua was an old man at this point, well advanced in years. So Ba B'Yamim, he came into his days. Vayomer Hashem alav, and Hashem said to him, Ata zekanta bata b'Yamim, you are old, and you are coming to your days. In other words, well advanced in your days. Va'aretz nishara harbe ma'od rishta, and the land, still a lot of land that needs to be possessed. So Rashi says, Imasha Marti Avraham, how much land is to be possessed? So from that which I said to Avram, Nishar, there's a lot of stuff remaining over that you didn't get done. That's number one. Metzudas David also says when it comes to he was old coming into his days. So it says, Zakein Yomar Lashon B'nei Adam, Hamoche Shanira Ba'adam, Hameluvan Sha'ar. So he's talking about white hair, wrinkled face, and sometimes they come in, they get old before their time. So that's why it's explained he came into his days in a proper time. So you understand what he's saying? Some people get old before their time. Some people age appropriately. So what the Tanakh is testifying is that Joshua was old, and that's why he looked old. It wasn't that he looked old because of the position he was in. If you look at any of our presidents all the way through, they all came in as young guys, and they all look like death warmed over by the time they leave. The worst one I think that's aging is because he's getting gray hair is Obama. You can see from beginning to end he really aged a lot in his job. Sad, but he aged a lot. So then it says so he's saying Harabei Ma'od Lo Tuchal Lechbosha Kol B'Chayecham, and you will not be able to do all this conquering in your lifetime. Good. She says, Zoda Arts and Nishar, this is the land that is remaining. Ki Kol Galila HaPalishtim Echol Geshori, all the borders of the Palishtim and all of the Geshorites. Min HaShichor Asher Al Pnei Mitzrayim, from the Shichor, where that is by the Egypt, Viad Gavul Ekron Tzafon, until the border of Ekron to the north, the Kanani Techashev, which is counted to the Canaanites, Chamesh Sarnei Palishtim, the 5 lords of the Palishtim, Ha'azati. So then you have the Palishtim Ha'azati, the followers of the Philistines, the Gazites, Ashdodi, the Ashdodites, Eshkeloni, the Eshkelonites, Agiti, the Gittites, Ekroni, the Ekronites, Avim, and the Avites. I guess you would translate that. I don't know. Avim. Okay. And what's it saying here? Anything that we need? Masuda's Dove asked an interesting question. It says the land that was given to the which is counted as Kanani. So it says, "Ve'alo Eretz Kanani natati Israel." Surely, Eretz, the land of the Canaanites, was given to Israel. So how do you understand that? That's one question. So it says, "Ve'avim," and the Avim Hema lo B'Pelishtim. They were not from the Pelishtim. So apparently, what we have is districts that were there, but they weren't part of the original peoples that were there. If you understand what I'm saying. Everybody understand what I'm saying or not? Is that yes or no?
Can I ask another question on the Hebrew language?
Say it again, go ahead.
Could I ask another question
Go ahead.
on the Hebrew language? And I'm back, you're way past where I am now. Joshua's old, advanced in years.
Right.
Yehoshua Zaken Ba Yomim.
Right.
It looks to me like advanced in days, Yomim, Yomim.
Oh, so okay, good question. So b'yamim, yom can either mean I should say yam. Yamim can either mean days or years.
Oh.
Depends on the context.
Okay.
And you learn that from in Bereshis, you learn that from when Lavan is asking. You have the case of Eliezer, the servant of Abraham, coming to get Rivka, who was Lavan's sister, and he's going to bring Rivka so that she can marry Isaac, Abraham's son. So when the whole deal is set and they're going to bring Rivka back, very nice. So the parents ask, or actually the brother and the mother ask, can we have Yamim or Asor? So if you say days or 10 months, that doesn't make sense. Right? If I'm not going to give me days, it's certainly not going to give me 10 months. So that's where they learned that Yamim sometimes can mean years. So years or 10 months. A year or 10 months. So that's why it's a good point you're making. Bab Yamim came into his years. He got older. So that's why well advanced in years, they say.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Okay, so now it says, Meiteman called Eretz Yisrael, from the south, all the land of the Canaan, all the land of Canaanim, Uma'ara, Asher the Sidonim, and to the Ema'ara, that belonged to the Sidonim, Ad Afeka, until Afeka, Ad Gevul Hamari, until the border of the Amorites. Ha'aretz Mehagivli, V'chol Avanom Mizrach HaShemesh, and the land of the Givlites, and all of the Lebanon, toward this rising of the sun, Baal Gad, from Baal Gad, Tachat Har Chamon, to the under Har Chamon, Ad Lavo Chamat, until the entering, till the going into of Chamat. Kol Yoshvi Ahar, all the inhabitants of the hill country, Min Halvanon, Ad Misrafot Mayim, Kol Sidonim, from the Lebanon until Misrafot Mayim, all these are named places, and all of the Sidonians, Anochi Ori Shem, I will drive them out, Mepnei Ben Israel, from before Ben Israel, Rak, Hapileh Ad Israel Ben Achalak Asher Sviticha, only divide it, again, Hapileha, it will fall, this is, look at it literally, it will fall, it will be caused to fall to Israel as a possession, just as I have commanded it. Now they translate it as only divide it by lot to the Israelites as inheritance. But Hapileha, so Hapil is the Hif'il from Nafal. Okay, so it's a Hif'il of that. So you're going to cause it to be inherited. That's why it's divide for Israel as an inheritance. Okay? V'yata, and now Chalek el Aretz Zo ben Achalal Tishat Shvatim. You are going to divide this land into 9 portions into a portion for the 9 tribes. So 9 portions for Chatzi Shevet Menashe, and also one for the 9 portions for 9 tribes and a half tribe Menashe. So really going to get 10 portions here. Now it's interesting that when you look at the map, you're going to find out that really Menashe comes together from the east to the north, from the east to the west. They call it gerrymandering. It looks like a crazy amount of territory that they get, because one's on one side, that's on the other side. So it's a very interesting way how they split it up. I think they actually touch on some part. You have it there? No?
It might be here. I'm not really following exactly all of that.
Good.
They have quite a bit of map here.
Right, so you have to look at Menashe. For Menashe, you'll see, because I remember looking at it, so it was, I don't have any maps here, so it's really not in Hebrew.
Okay, Menashe here.
Yeah, so it connects somewhere, no?
Let me show you.
Okay. So if I remember, right, so it connects right here.
Yeah.
It is, you see, you have a big portion over here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
A big portion over here.
Mm-hmm.
Then it connects a little bit, and then Menashe even split up again over here.
Mm-hmm.
So they really got, and it was a crazy way to split land up, but nonetheless, that's what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And that was all because of how the lottery went, but it's, what we have to deal with. I wouldn't want to, that's why when they saw this in the other class, they said, it looks like the gerrymandering for the vote from Chicago. And they have the craziest places that they're getting. Okay? So, number 7. I'm sorry, number 8. So, Imo, with him, Haruveni v'Agadi lachu nachlatam, with him, in other words, the half-tribe Menashe, so they're going to, Reuven and Gad will take their inheritance, Asher natan lahem Moshe be'evra yerdem mizracham, that Moshe gave them on the east side of the Jordan. Kasher natan lahem, just as he gave them to him, just as Moshe eved Hashem, just as Moshe, the servant of Hashem, gave to them. Okay, so we have to keep. By the way, why do you think that they would have to keep emphasizing that the writer here has to keep emphasizing that they were given this land by Moshe eved Hashem? What would you say to that? You said it one time or before, a couple of times already. Why do you have to keep emphasizing it? Any theories? No? So he says...
It has to be a human connection. Your question is, I just want to understand exactly what your question is. Why is it emphasizing that land was given by Moshe and by Hashem? Is that your question?
Moshe, the servant of Hashem, but my question is, why do they have to keep emphasizing that Reuven, Gad, and half-tribe Manasseh are going to inherit on the other side? In other words, what we call Jordan today, Transjordan. Why do they have to keep emphasizing that they were inheriting over there and not with the rest of the people? So the Masudas David says, is going on that they took their portion, Rochli more, which means, Me'az, Kasher Natan Lahem Moshe, Nachala, Hahi Lachu Otov, and Itratsuba. So when when Moshe gave them that inheritance, and they took it from him, and they desired it, and came Hadavar Kayim, so it's fulfilled. Ve'en Latet Lahem Od Be'ever Zeh, and therefore they no longer can get it on the other side. You gave up your portion. You wanted it. You got it. You know, God gave you your prayer. You asked for prayer. God answered you. He said, great. You want this. You're not going to get into the other part of the land now because you wanted this. So you get what you wish for.
Be careful what you ask for. You just might get it.
Right. Well, they were happy they got into it. The problem is, and we'll find out later, if we, God willing, we get to Shoftim, is that they were the first of the tribes to leave. In other words, they were the first to be lost because they weren't living in amongst their brothers. So even though they were close, still they were separate, and they would end up being a very big loss of communication between them. But let's go on. So 10. We have Me'aro Ir, from Aro Ir Asher Al, that is upon Sfat Nachal Arnon, the bank of the river Arnon, Ve'ir Asher Betoch HaNachal, and the city that is in the midst of the river, V'chol HaMishor Medva Adibon, and all the plain of Medva and Dibon. So... okay. V'chol arei Sichon, Melech Amori, and all the cities of Sichon, the king of the Amorites, Hashem Malach becheshbon, that ruled in Cheshbon, ad gevul b'nei Ammon, until the border of the children of Ammon, v'agilad gevul ha'keshurei ha'machati, v'chol har Chemon, v'chol Bashan v'sachad. So again, these are just name places. The Gilad and the border of the Geshurites and the Mechites and all the Mount Hermon and all of Bashan to Salka, Kol Machod Og Bashan, all the kingdom of Og and Bashan, Hashem Malach Basharod Be'edrei, that ruled in Ashrod and Edrei, who Nisham Yetrafam, he, name of Og, is the one who remained from the remaining of these giants who were called Rephaim. And Moshe smote them, and he inherited them. Why do we have to hear, by the way, that he was one of the remaining of the kings? So Rashi explains here, Shaharag Chidla Omer, that he killed Chidla Omer and the kings that were with him, like it says that they smote the Rephaim and Asher Karnaim. So here's something very interesting. You have Og. Og lives an extremely long time. Og is a giant. Some people say that he actually jumped on top of Noah's ark, the boat, and saved himself there, which even puts him back before the flood. But without even that, Og comes to Abraham and says he's the one who told Abraham that his nephew Lot was captured in the war of Chidla Omer, where the 4 kings beat the 5 kings, and so Avram goes to rescue his nephew Lot, beats the 4 kings. Who beats the 5 kings? Who becomes therefore king of the known world at that point? And we get the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. You get a whole bunch of stuff coming out of that. But it's the big thing is that Og was there. Why did Og tell Abraham that his nephew was kidnapped by these kings? Because Og liked, the rabbis say, because Og liked Sarah and wanted to have Sarah. So he figures, if I get rid of the husband who's going to die in this war, because 4 kings beat 5, they're very powerful. What does he have? 318 people? Nothing. He'll be wiped out too. Lo and behold, he wasn't wiped out. He wins. And so Og's plans don't work out that well. But God rewards everybody according to their, pays for everybody according to their deeds. In other words, those who are wicked, they get their punishments. Righteous get rewarded. And so what happens? This guy who was a lowest of lows, really. He wasn't a nice guy. But because he saved a human being, even though his intent was wrong, Hashem still has to pay him for, as it were, for his good deed. So he is rewarded with an extremely long life. Until it comes to Moshe. Moshe is told you are going to war against Og. So Moshe is afraid. He says, wait a second, this old character has lived 400 years. Maybe his merits are still holding by him. Maybe I'm going to lose. That's when God says, don't worry. Game up. Now you can go and you can take him down. That's the whole thing of Og. That's why it says, tell us, he was of the remainder, one of the remained of the giants. Otherwise we wouldn't have to hear that. Okay, so it says, Lo Risho B'nai Yisrael, and nevertheless the B'nai Yisrael did not get rid of the Geshurites, the Malchites, V'yisha B'Geshur Malcha B'Kerev Yisrael Adim Hazeh, and as a result the Geshuri and the Malchi lived amongst in the midst of B'nai Israel until this very day. This very day means until the day that this book was written. Remember, this is not being written by God. So when the author of this book is writing it down, apparently those people were still amongst us, and it wasn't good for us because they would lead us to sin. Rak Shevet Levi, only the tribe of Levi, Lo Natan Nachalav. He, again, you have to look at the Hebrew here. You would think that Shevet HaLevi would be Natanu. They were not given. No, it's because Shevet Levi is a single unit. So Lo Natan Nachala, he was not giving, or it was not given an inheritance. Why? Because Ishe Hashem Elokei Israel Hu Nachlato. The fire of Hashem, the God of Israel, is his inheritance. Kashir Diberlo, as he spoke to him. So the sacrifices, that's what the B'nai Levi get. So as a result, they don't have time to deal with land, and they weren't given land. If they were given land, what would have happened? You give them land. I want to think about this. You give them land, and you're a farmer, because it was a agrarian. How do you say agricultural culture? Agrarian.
Oh, agrarian.
Agrarian. It was agrarian society, so everybody had their farms. So you're at certain times you have to be farming. You don't have time to do anything else. So here, if you have these Leviim and Kohanim who are supposed to be giving sacrifice on behalf of the Jewish people, and it's harvest time, or it's planting season, or it's this season, that season, so they're going to say, I don't have time. So as a result, God said, no, we can't have the priestly class, who I need to run the system, the religious system, having farms. Because if they do, they won't be able to come up to me and do what they have to do. So as a result, they don't get land. And that's why it says their inheritance, this is logically, it says their inheritance are the sacrifices of Hashem. So they get the skins, they'll get the meat, they're taken care of. They also get the ma'aser, the 10th of the grain. There's a lot that the Kohanim got and the Levium got. Nevertheless, they still were the schleppers of the system, because with all that they got, they still had, the people always would see them as, like they see people now, the schleppers, as if you would work, if you'd only have a farm, you wouldn't need my stuff. It's taxation without representation. So who wants to pay taxes? But that's what all these things were. And they had to support this group, because this group was doing what they couldn't do, or what they wouldn't do. People still to this very day don't like to do certain things, so that's why they hire the rabbis, that's why they hire the teachers, that's why they hire all these people. And yet, because the teachers are amongst the worst paid in our culture, as the rabbis are, for what we do, we're not paid well at all. But that's how it works, because people say, what do you need? What do you need to live? Yeah, it's simple. Teachers, they only work, they have better than bankers' hours. Used to be the banker would finish at 3. So the teachers, they finish at 2, they go on at 9. What's wrong? And they're with kids all day. Isn't it wonderful? They don't really work. That's how it was viewed.
3-month vacation every summer.
3-month vacation. It's beautiful. They go to the Bahamas. Right, Phil? You went to the Bahamas every year. He had a summer home in the Bahamas. Okay, but it's but that's how it was viewed. So the same thing. Nothing's changed. The point is nothing's changed. But Hashem had to have that system set up, because if they would have been having farms, they also would have been in the same situation. They couldn't have come. So that's why they got that inheritance. It says, Vayitein Moshe the Mate b'nei Gad l'mishkotam, and so then you have and Moshe gave to the tribe of the children of Reuven inheritance according to their families. So their inheritance was from Aroer until the bank of the river Arnon, and the city that was in the midst of the river, and all the plain by Medva, Cheshbon and all her cities, that were in the plain, Divon, Bamot, Baal. So you have Divon and Bamot, Baal, and Beit, Baal Maon. These are cities. V'yatzav, V'kidmeva, Umei Kiryatayim, V'sivma, V'seret HaShacha, Bahar Emek, Beit Peor, Ashdod, Pisgah, Beit Shimon, all of these names. V'chol Arei Amisha, all the cities of the plains. V'chol Mamlachot Sichon Melech Mari, and all the kingdoms of Sichon, the king of the Amorites, Shem Malach Becheshbon, that ruled in Cheshbon, Asher Hika Moshe, V'tov V'ed Nasi Midian, that Moshe smote him and all of the leaders of Midian, V'ed Evi, V'ed Reka, V'ed Shor, V'ed Chor, V'ed Reva, the Sichon, who were the dukes, okay, of Sichon, Yoshvei Ha'aretz, the inhabitants of the land. V'ed Bilam, Ben Bor, we even hear Bilam, it comes back, it makes it come back in the writings, who was the Kosem, the soothsayer, Hargu b'nei Israel, Becharev, El Chaladeim, who they b'nei Israel killed with the sword that were slain with them. We're not going to be able to finish this, but so it's going to just go through a whole bunch of just trying to figure out if I can get to an end somewhere. We'll have to stop here. So we're at Chav Gimel. So we're 23. I'll have to stop here now.